This is live. Share this. Okay, so we have a Flexgate repair. I'm going to go ahead and do the boring task of taking the antenna bar off so we can actually access it. Then I'll show you how I fix these and why this method I use I believe is the best way. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is unplug the battery. I can't tell you how many times well, probably like 2 times where I've done the entire repair with the battery connected. They've been fine, but still. Unplug the battery. So we're going to unplug the battery. Jim is here. How's it going, Jim? Hope everything's well with you. So now I am going to get a P2 or a, not a P2. Is it a P2? It might be a P2. Or P3. P2, P3, anything like that. And take off the antenna bar screws. Now, one thing you'll notice, these are an incredible pain, and if your screwdriver is not, if it's your bit is a little worn out, they will not want to come out. So we're going to do our best and get all of these out. Sometimes they're a little stubborn. These screws are like almost like pot metal, and you can see that the bit of my screwdriver actually just broke off. So let me go grab another bit. So look at this. Of course, this has to happen when I'm doing a video. It can't happen any other time. It has to be like you're recording a video, so this tip is going to break. That has to happen, right? Yeah. So look at this. The tip literally broke right off. Can't see that, but oh well. Let me go ahead and get another bit. So let me go get another screwdriver set. So I'll be right back. Gotta love how every single time I want to do a stream, something like this always happens. Like it never fails. And one of the other sets has the P2 stolen out of it, or the P3. So we're going to try one of these other ones. Yeah, you don't want to rip off your antenna. That's not a good idea to do that. There's other ways. Let's see here. Which one of these is a P2? This looks like maybe this fits. Yep, there we go. Free screwdrivers for the win. I kid you not, some of these free battery screwdrivers that come in screen repair and battery kits are the best, and they don't wear out or break ever. It's funny how that happens, like the free stuff is better than the paid. It's kind of the same with software sometimes too. Peter's here, Briz is here. Luckily, these screws are so soft, if you do have a stripped one, you can usually press the bit in pretty easily if you put some force into it. Which is why these screws strip so easily, is because of the fact that the metal is so soft that they're just, it's like pot metal. I don't know what they're made out of or what alloy of metals they're made out of, but they're not very strong at all. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and remove the T4, T5 screws. This bit is trash. So that's going over there. I'm going to grab my T5. And I'm going to remove the rest of the antenna bar screws as well as the T-con board screws. Actually, I'm going to get my T4 and do the little T4 stuff. So I do not fully remove the screen for Flexgate. It's not necessary. So the antenna bar has to come out, and that's pretty much it. And let me grab that, because that fell on the floor. And finally, our hinge screw covers. And before we take this out, I want to take off the right side cover over the screen data and screen backlight cable, because that's what we're going to need to access. And after that, I can go ahead and remove the rest of the screws on the T-con board and get the T-con board out. With the screws released, I'm going to take out the antenna bar, and now we're ready to proceed. So I'm going to close the lid of the laptop, and we're going to go under the microscope. So let's go ahead, switch over to this, and get going. Catherine is here. How's it going? So first thing I'm going to do is, one, make sure that I'm not going to knock over the bottle of alcohol that's right in the way. Going to inspect our flex cable, and we could see here, you could see that. Let me zoom in on it. See that crack there? That should not be there, okay? This is definitely Flexgate. So you could see that crack there across the cable. That's what Flexgate is. It's basically a crack within the display flex cable, and what this will typically present with is when you open your lid fully, the machine will shut off. So, give me 1 second here. Let me send this customer an email. And back to chat. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is we are going to tape down our cable with some Kapton tape. Get this in focus the best I can for both you and me. There we go. So we are just going to get some of this thin Kapton tape, which doesn't really do a good job, but it's better than nothing. And tape it down, and then make our little cut across the cable. Just like that, okay? And this is just going to kind of hold it steady for us for a second here. And what I'm going to do is grab my X-Acto knife, which I had in my hand. Here it is. And we are going to cut it right at the level of the hinge right here. I want it to be a straight, nice straight cut. Just like so. And that is pretty much it. Now what we're going to do is get tweezers and lightly hold this down and scrape off the coating. Try both if you're doing this on your own, which if you're not a repair shop, you should not be. This is not an end user repair. If you're a repair shop and you're, familiar with micro soldering, try with both a dull blade and a sharp blade. See what you like better. I honestly could do it both ways. I kind of prefer a dull blade better, honestly, for this, because sometimes the sharp blade will catch on the cable and you'll tear it. Customer phone call. Give me 1 second here. Hi, how can I help you? All right. Back to this. So the cable's a little flimsier than I'll expect. I like, and that happens sometimes. There's not really too much we can do about it. Anyway, let's go ahead and finish prepping this. I'm gonna get some flux down. This is 759 ASX. You can get it on tcrscircuit.com if you do want some. And I am just going to get a nice tin of solder on here. Let's wait for my iron to heat up. And also remove the rest of that adhesive that's on the cable. This tip is way too big for this, so we're just going to that there, and it's going to pretty much stay in place because the tackiness of the flux. And I'm going to grab a BC1. Bridge there, we're just going to work on that. I like to make sure all these are tinned with enough solder on them, so a bridge really is not that big of a concern. Well, Catherine, the #1 difference is it's made here in this office. Lasts longer, doesn't have as much as the toxic chemicals. There's no drama regarding using it. You're not going to get a cease and desist if you used in your videos like I did, but this bridge is being really stubborn. I don't know why. I'm going to get a little bit of wick and just touch it with a little bit of wick. I'm gonna do like an apples to apples comparison on 559 here soon. So yeah, stay tuned for that video. That's pretty good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and prepare our donor cable here. So this is our donor cable, and I typically will make them a little bit longer. So yeah, so I don't know if you can see that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take about this much off, right? So right at like the B, and I'll use scissors for this. I don't want to use the X-Acto knife just because scissors are a little bit easier. Just a little bit of a straighter cut. There we go. So there's our donor cable, and we are going to scrape the coating off again. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put some flux down. And burn all the adhesive away. A lot of solder on these end pieces. Some more flux. You want nice big blobs on that. So now what I'm going to do is we are going to align it. I like to use the stickiness of the flux rather than, I mean, it'll lose its tackiness after a minute, but you just want to get it stuck down for a second until you get the one solder bridge, and you just align it as good as you can like that, right? So one side is down. That's the hard part. Let me get this in focus. So one side is down, and then we'll do the other side. Like that. Then I'll come back over here, flatten this side. And notice the cable is overlapped, okay? A lot of people make mistakes, or misquote me, I should say, and say that I'm just lining the cables up, running jumpers across it. That's not the case. There's an overlap there, and there's a big blob of solder that connects the ground pads. It's very, very strong when it's like that. Anyway, let's go ahead and now run a wire for our main backlight line, which is the thicker trace. So this is 40 gauge. There we go. There's that. And then now we need to do our loops, and we're going to use a thinner wire for that. And it's a non-coated wire. Okay. So this wire is about, this is actually a little bit smaller in diameter than your hair. So like it's just slightly under the length of a hair. Had one the other day. I was trying to solder. It was a hair. It was one of my hairs that fell out of my head. So we are going to get this down. And you could use the BC1 or you can use a smaller tip. It depends on my mood. If I'm frustrated, then I'm going to use the smaller tip. If I'm not, then I'm going to use the big tip because it doesn't really matter to me. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll switch to the smaller one, maybe we'll keep the BC1. So the most important thing is getting it kind of down in the right spot and tacked down into place. Come on, okay, it's tacked down. Sometimes it helps also to tape the cable down at this point. After it's there, you can tape it down to the desk. That's what I'll do. Teresa's here. Long time no see. Yeah, I want to switch to the BC1, or the small one. Just because I'm streaming and I know something's going to happen, and that's what happens when you stream. That's what you have to understand is you always, stuff always happens during a stream that does not happen normally. And you won't know that, and a lot of people give me crap on the internet for this. You know, oh, look at your streams, this and that. Well, this stuff normally doesn't happen. Okay. There's one loop. And I come back and add more solder to these after. Just want to get them down first. Adam, you need to give me a call. After this stream, we need to talk on the phone. You always dodge my calls. We have stuff, we have business to talk about. Soon I'll be playing with bigger wires. Yeah, maybe so. Seriously, as soon as I'm done with this, Adam, you better frickin' answer your phone. I'm gonna be pissed at you if you don't answer your phone. Okay, there's that. Now I'm gonna go around, add more solder to it. Always excuses. I had a work dinner. I have the flu. I have COVID. I'm in the hospital. Always excuses to why you can't answer the phone. To people in chat, I'm just screwing with Adam. Adam is a good friend of mine. I have to give him a hard time. Of course, always an excuse. I'm going to the bar. There we go. See, I'm not trolling. Always excuses. I'm not any better to reach, to be honest. So what I'm doing with adding these blobs, I'm just giving the cable a little extra strength. I'm making sure there's enough solder on them, and it gives kind of a redundancy. If a line does break, then it bridges that electricity over. Sometimes they're a pain to make, but let's see, that's fine. I like to have them in a little bit. Yeah, see, sometimes you screw up trying to make it perfect. I want another one right here, if it will. One of my guys almost fell through the attic today. Yeah, that's something that I would do. I'm not good in attics. There, perfect. That's what I want. Anyway, let's go ahead and clean this up. Although falling through an attic might be a little bit fun. This might be fun to watch. Clean this up. I am very happy about the machine to the left. It's been running for hours now. And this machine had a hole in the SSD circuit. And you could watch the last video and see a clip of it. But it's been running very well for hours, and it's going to run very well into the future to become, and all the data is recovered. So, can they all be connected? Yes, that's the whole point. That's the LED return lines. It's completing the circuit for the 6 LED returns. They all can be connected like that. So that's why we loop them. And it adds durability when they're all connected, because if you lose a single one, it's not going to hurt anything. It's just going to keep working. Clean the flux up. And you can conformal coat these. Honestly, I used to conformal coat them every time, and I can tell you it is not necessary. I used to be one it's 100%, it's really not necessary to conformal coat it. I've had 0 returns. It rides on this non-metallic shield, and you don't really need to, but you can, and I will, just for good measure. But it's not necessary to conformal coat it. Cleaning up all the flux really nicely. And I just spilled alcohol on myself. Probably will get pulled over and asked why you smell like you've been drinking tonight. Nope, it's just alcohol from soldering. What's funny is I got pulled over the other day and I had thermal paste syringes, and the cop is like, "Well, these syringes are really interesting." I'm like, yeah, it's thermal paste. It's a mixture of a silicone base oil, and you know, I probably shouldn't say what's in it on the stream. Yeah, I'm not gonna say what's in it. Anyway, he just gave me a blank stare. He's like, "Oh, okay. Is everything good with your license?" I said, "Yep. Okay. Have a nice day." And that was it. So the flux is nicely cleaned up. Now I'm just gonna get a little bit of conformal coat. My tweezer. Maybe I'll clean. It's a little sticky, I see on the back of this. Clean a little bit more. Get a little bit of conformal coat. Let this dry. It's the boring part because we have to let this dry for a minute. Like watching paint dry, watching conformal coat dry. You guys can watch it. Very interesting content. Won't take too long. Well, pretty much this is how Flexgate repair is done. Let me try and speed this along a little bit by using my hot air at 100 Celsius. We'll see that it works, but that's pretty much it, honestly. That's how Flexgate repair is done. Very common issue. I don't have one, Teresa. Lewis asked me that question multiple times when I was in Austin. Let that cool, and we should be dry enough now. Not quite. Give it a few more minutes. We don't want it to make a sticky mess on the shield right here. because then what'll happen, and I know this because I've done it, it'll start binding on that cable, and that'll cause problems. So we don't want that. Yeah, it's still way too wet to put on there, so it's just got to dry. I could use a little more heat on it. It's almost there. I can start reassembling. By the time we're done reassembling, it'll be fine. So, it's going to go like that. And then I'm going to switch over to the other camera. Yes, I know this angle isn't great. I know. I can try and make it better, I guess. Here, I'm going to move this close to my desk and angle it down, so maybe this will be better. Let's see. Then you get to see a messy desk. No, it's not that messy. Just the usual. This is a Flexgate repair. Yes. I'll turn it around. Now, a lot of people say my desk is messy, and my response is, you guys don't know what a messy desk is. You should see other repair shops' desks. This is nothing compared to a lot of other repair shops. Come on. Even this third cable is a pain. That's always the third last one. That's always, you have to always fight it. I don't know why it's like that always. There we go. Go ahead and get our T5 screws in. We're going to make sure this antenna bar is pushed as far back as it'll go. Like that. Because if you don't put the antenna bar in right, your hinges will pop because it's going to bind on the antenna bar. So you want to make sure that this antenna bar is back all the way. You also kind of want to walk these screws. Like, don't put them in. I'll usually do 1, 2, 1, 2 instead of, if you do it all in one way, you could bend the T-con a little bit, and then that'll cause that popping, which is really undesirable. So. And then we need our P3. Let's do these guys. This is an A1707. The Flexgate, although only officially acknowledged by Apple for the 13-inch 2016, it happens to both 2016 and 2017 13 and 15-inch machines. So I honestly see more in the 1707 than the 1706. I don't know if it's because Apple still honors some of the 1706 and 1708 devices or what the deal is, but I do see more 1707 Flexgate than 1708 and 1706 Flexgate. Okay, that's that. And now we're going to do our other screws here for our shields. We're pretty much done. That acrylic should be dry by now, so we won't have to worry about that. Antenna. There's that. Put the shield back over the battery. And now we should have a working display backlight. So let's go ahead and see here. See if we get an Apple logo. I've only had one of these that battery's probably dead. I've only had one of these that I missed a return line. It wasn't soldered right and I had to redo it, but 1707s is this weird thing where the fan spin, stop, kind of like 34, 37s. That is a dirty screen. We're going to clean that up before we give this back to him. But come on. Don't embarrass me, MacBook. Come on, MacBook. What are you doing? What are you doing, MacBook? Do you not have backlight? Did I not connect something? No, that's connected. Let's see. I can't see anything under this screen, so I gotta clean the screen off. One thing to note is you will get the display delamination if you have fingerprints on your screen, because the acids will actually eat away at the lamination layer on the screen. Okay, we have no backlight. Interesting. Why do we have no backlight? I don't know. Let's go ahead and measure. What might have went wrong? Of course, like I said, anytime you do a live stream, something like this is going to happen. That's just what happens. So let's see if it's 55 volts. It's 0 volts, which is very unusual for a Flexgate issue. So you almost always have like 55 volts or something. That almost makes me think that maybe screen isn't seated right or something. Let's see. Yeah, 0 volts on this device usually means a short on backlight output. Or something. Either short on backlight output or bad screen. So I'm just going to reseat, make sure there's no debris in here. Also reseat our backlight connector right here. Thing looks good. Alright, let's try again. Sometimes a PRAM reset will do the trick too. Because PRAM does talk to, does have display values in it. Okay, and I just saw a flash. I don't know if you guys saw that too, but I did see a flash on the screen. It was a bright pink flash. Okay, so we get backlight for a second. I don't know if you saw that, and then it shuts off. That is not typical of Flexgate at all. That is like that's not what happens. So I'm almost wondering if we have something else entirely going on, if we have another issue secondary to Flexgate. So yeah, I have 1 volt on backlight output. Okay, well, we have to recheck everything. And of course, a simple Flexgate repair is going to turn into a nightmare because we're streaming. And of course, the one time that I connect or reassemble everything is the one that doesn't work, because usually I test them before. But anyway, let's figure out what happened here. Could have a short to ground on the display or on the Flexgate or flex connector, or we have another issue entirely, which is kind of what I think. Maybe one of the LED return lines is touching ground. It might do that. Because it'll trip over current on the driver, and then that'll happen. Okay. Let's have a look. Honestly, it looks fine. I don't think our issue's here, to be honest. I'm going to clean the conformal coating off so we can look better. But it really does not look like anything is wrong here. Unless the issue is also further up on the display, which I've seen. I don't know. This is acting like something else is wrong. Clear this stuff off. Third to the right here? Yes, it is. Usually when one of the small lines is bad, it's not going to do that. It's just going to have the stage light effect. Acting more like something else is up. And this right there is not making good contact, but weird. What I could do is see if the return lines are shorted to ground. Okay, the return lines are shorted to ground, but where? Where are the return lines shorted to ground? Because does not look like I don't see how any of these can be making contact with ground, really. None of these are touching ground. Huh. This is unusual. Gonna take them all off, and we're gonna measure individually. Watch this be a bad screen. That would suck. Anyway, I'm going to touch to ground. Okay, it's this last one here. Now my next thing is it shorted in the cable or is it shorted in the screen? So I hate to do it, but I think I'm going to take this whole thing off. Unless we got a blob under. Oh, I see it. We have a blob under here. Okay, this is rare, but it does happen. And I'm glad I caught it because this could help someone. So I have seen this a few times where we'll get a blob under the cable. And that's exactly what happened here. So we're going to take this whole thing off. Okay, get it off. And you probably can't see it, but it bridged right there. See that? The one at the lower one is the one we just made, but the top one is bridged. So we're going to clean that up. We're going to redo it, and we're going to have a fixed board. Or fixed screen, I should say. Okay. It happens. This is going to be stubborn, so I'm going to put a little sticky flux down to kind of tackify it. I don't really want to deal with tape again, but I might have to, because the tape's not going to stick well after flux has been there. Could even overlap it this way. I kind of would prefer it, because I know it wants to be stubborn. Of course. We're going to have to get tape. The Captain tape will never want to stick well anymore because the flux has been there, and you can get 90% of the flux off, but there's still a thin, like, microscopic coating. And it's just not going to want to stick, so it's going to fight us. Maybe you can cover it to prevent shorts. Well, this is really rare. I've only ever had it happen once before, and it was a combination of that and one of the return lines wasn't touching, so it's really not necessary because it's so rare. So it's not like this is something that happens every time. It's something very, very seldom. You can kind of get it now. And we're good. Let's position it a little bit better. Still crooked. Gotta give a lot more flux in there. Little hiccup there with that piece gone is fine. Not worried about that. It's easy. little more solder. Take care of that bridge. And our wire slipped away. Come back here. Beautiful. That's exactly how I want it to look. Gotta scrape away a little bit more over here. There's just a little spot. Nah, it'll be fine. Not concerned. There's that. want a bridge here. There, that is beautiful. I could not have asked for a more perfect bridge in that spot. That is absolutely incredible. Okay, we're done. I'm going to clean this up. I'm not going to do conformal coating this time. So every time I decide to do conformal coating, something bad happens. And you guys saw that. So it's really not necessary. So we're not even going to bother with it. We're just going to clean this. And you'll see it works now. And we're done. We're good to go. The acrylic conformal coat's mixed with the flux, and that makes the flux very, very hard to clean. It's almost like trying to clean solid rosin. I need to get some acetone. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some acetone to clean this, I think. I don't think isopropyl is gonna do it. Try a little more. Yeah, acetone it is. Be right back. Much better. Side is clean. Okay, now the moment of truth. Does this work? We're going to go back to the other view, plug it in, and see if we could call this a success, which I know we will be able to. So, plug in the screen. That would be embarrassing, not plugging in the screen. It's going to do the spin, stop, spin, stop. And that is backlight. As you can see, that's an Apple logo. And there you go. It works. I don't want to show the customer's name, but there you go. You see the backlight works. This is fixed. Thank you for watching. I know that was kind of a painful one because it was supposed to be an easy, quick one. That turned into be a pain. Anyway, thank you.